You've done enough damage. Get out. I never imagined that watching my only son get married would end with his bride screaming at me, demanding that I leave the very ballroom I had paid for. You're not welcome here, Tiffany hissed, her perfectly manicured finger jabbing the air. The laughter and music stopped. Every pair of eyes turned to me. I froze, clutching my designer clutch, the same one holding the check for 50 grand I'd written to cover the entire wedding. My son Jake just stood there, head down, silent. Not a word, not even a glance. No defense. I swallowed hard, forcing back tears. Don't cry, Grace. Don't give her the satisfaction. I walked past rows of guests, trying not to look at their stares, feeling something break deep inside me. I'd paid for everything, the custom dress, the floral arrangements, the high-end venue, and they tossed me aside like garbage. I sat alone in my Escalade in the dark parking garage. Tiffany's bitter voice looped in my head like a cruel recording. You're not welcome here. But the worst part wasn't Tiffany. It was Jake. He just stood there like a stranger. Too much of a coward to defend his own mother. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. Why did you leave? Are you okay? Don't make a scene, Grace. Not one message asking what they had done to me. Not one person on my side. I swallowed my tears. I wouldn't cry. Not tonight. Instead, I let the anger cool and harden inside me. Solid, cold like steel. They thought I was weak because I stayed quiet. They thought they could humiliate me and still enjoy the fairy tale wedding I had built for them. Enough. I grabbed my phone and opened the wedding planner's email. My thumb hovered for a moment. Then I took a deep breath and called. Hi, Mrs. Baker, came the cheerful voice. I was just reviewing the final details for tomorrow. Cancel everything, I said flatly. A pause. I'm sorry. What do you mean? Cancel it all. The venue, the vendors, the payments. I'm done. But all the contracts are under your name. Are you sure? This is so last minute. I'm sure. If I'm not welcome at that wedding, my money isn't either. By the time I parked in my garage in Greenwich, Connecticut, my hands had stopped shaking. The anger had sharpened into resolve. They wanted me gone. Fine. But they were about to learn that everything they had was built on my back. Calling in the debts, I sat at my granite kitchen island and opened the wedding binder. I had carefully organized the venue, the top-tier catering, the florist, the photographer, the 6-piece band. Each tab was a reminder of my generosity. They hadn't contributed a dime, only Pinterest boards and entitled demands. Every invoice, every contract, every signature was mine. I picked up the phone and started dialing. Hello, this is Grace Baker. I'm the primary on the Baker-Stevens wedding contract scheduled for tomorrow. I'm canceling immediately. A long pause. Are you sure, ma'am? There's a substantial cancellation fee that won't be necessary. I paid the deposits and per the contract I have full authority. Next was the florist on Main Street, then the caterer, then the photographer. With each call my spine straightened a little more. They hadn't just wanted my help. They'd expected it. That wedding wasn't theirs. It was mine, paid for, arranged and sustained by me. If I wasn't welcome, neither was my money. When I hung up the last call, I allowed myself a cold, quiet smile. Tomorrow they'd wake up thinking they were stepping into their fairy tale. But there would be no flowers, no gourmet food, no music. Only the ruins of their arrogance. I opened my laptop and checked every PDF contract one by one. My name, my signature, my billing address. They loved my money more than they ever loved me. I remembered Tiffany's empty promise from a few weeks ago. We'll pay you half back, Mom, once Jake gets his promotion. I almost laughed. Then I opened the florist contract. Cancellation by client results in forfeit of deposit. And who was the client? Me, not Tiffany, not Jake. A surge of satisfaction coursed through me. Without me they couldn't do a thing. A car door slammed outside. I peeked through the blinds. Jake's BMW. My chest tightened as his footsteps approached. Then came the pounding on the door. Mom, open up. We need to talk. I didn't move. Mom, I know you're in there. I clasped my hands in my lap. Let him sweat. He had no right to demand my time anymore. After a moment his voice rose, frustrated. You can't do this. This is our wedding. A cold smile curved my lips. No, Jake, it never was. The knocking stopped. I stayed still, heart pounding but steady. For 30 years I'd been the one fixing things, signing checks, biting my tongue to keep the peace. Not anymore. Eventually, I heard his car start and drive off. My phone lit up. Jake, 6:13 p.m. Mom, why aren't you answering? Jake, 6:14 p.m. What's going on, Jake? Jake, 6:15 p.m. You're ruining our lives. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound I barely recognized as my own. Finally, I picked up. What the hell are you doing? Jake shouted. You can't just cancel the wedding. Everyone's waiting. Stop. I said, my voice low and even. You stood there and let her humiliate me in front of everyone. I didn't want to make a scene. Oh, but it was fine for Tiffany to make one. Silence. She was just upset. Mom, you're overreacting. Overreacting? I almost laughed again. I paid for everything. The venue, the food, the music, all of it. And you let her throw me out like a stranger. This is our wedding, he yelled. No, I said calmly. It was my gift and now it's gone. Mom, please. You can't do this. We'll lose everything. Tiffany's crying. She should have thought about that before throwing me out of the very party I paid for. Messages popped up across the screen. Tiffany, 6:18 p.m. You bitter, selfish old woman. You've always hated me. Tiffany, 6:19 p.m. Can't believe you're ruining Jake's life out of jealousy. Tiffany, 6:20 p.m. Stay away from us. You're toxic. I clenched my jaw and asked Jake. Have you seen the messages she's sending me? She's just upset. Upset or finally showing her true colors? Mom. Goodbye, Jake. I hung up. The phone buzzed again, Tiffany's name glowing on the screen. I flipped it face down on the table. The collapse the next morning, the knocking started hard and fast. Mom, open the door. We need to talk. I didn't move. I hadn't slept all night. The coffee on the counter had gone cold. The pounding grew louder. Mom, don't make me stand out here all day. With a deep sigh, I walked to the door and cracked it open. Jake stood there, face flushed, hair a mess, looking wrecked. He barged in without waiting for permission. What the hell are you doing, Mom? He snapped, his voice sharp with anger. You've ruined everything. Do you even care about me and Tiffany? Lower your voice, I said coldly. You're in my house. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing like a trapped animal. All the vendors are gone. The venue's been rebooked. The bride's losing her mind. Do you even realize what you've done? Yes, I replied evenly. I stopped funding my own humiliation. His eyes widened in disbelief. Humiliation? Tiffany was just upset. She didn't mean it. She meant every word, I said firmly. She stood in front of everyone and told me to leave and you let her. I was trying not to make things worse. You stood there like a stranger, Jake. You didn't defend me. You didn't even look at me. His voice dropped cold now. You're always like this, controlling, selfish. That's why Dad left. The words hit like a slap. My breath caught and then the anger surged. Selfish. My voice shook. Do you have any idea how much I sacrificed for you? How many checks I wrote, how many hours I worked, how many dreams I gave up so you could have yours? He faltered for a moment, but his face stayed defiant. You chose her over me, I said calmly. So let her pay for the wedding she wants. Jake's mouth opened but no words came out. I walked to the door and pulled it wide open. You should go. He hesitated, then stormed past me, slamming the door so hard the walls trembled. I sank into a chair, my hands shaking. For the first time in years, I realized Jake wasn't the boy I'd raised. He'd become someone I no longer recognized. By noon the phone rang. It was Lana, my sister-in-law. Grace, she said softly. I just talked to Jake. He's a mess. You have to fix this. I looked at the phone, pressed my lips together and said nothing. How do you plan to fix this? Lana's voice came again. Reinstate the payments, she urged. They're young. They made a mistake. But it's their wedding. You don't want to destroy it, do you? I clenched my fists. No, Lana. I didn't destroy anything, I said, calm but cold. They destroyed it the moment they treated me like a stranger. An awkward silence filled the line. Grace, you've always been stubborn, she sighed. Maybe Tiffany just felt threatened. Threatened? I paid for her entire so-called fairy tale wedding and she felt threatened. Look, Lana softened her tone. I'm just saying don't let pride tear the family apart. Be the bigger person. I hung up without another word. 5 minutes later the phone rang again. The voice on the other end made my blood run cold. Grace, he began. Tom, I replied flatly. My ex-husband. Jake's father. Jake called me. He's beside himself. I don't know what happened at the rehearsal dinner, but canceling everything like this is too much. Too much. My voice rose despite my effort to stay calm. Tom, where were you when Tiffany kicked me out in front of 50 people? Where were you when your son stood there, head down, saying nothing? Don't drag up old wounds, he snapped. Not now. Let them have their day. Be the bigger person. I've heard that my whole life, I said bitterly. Be the bigger person. That's just code for keep paying and stay quiet. Grace, don't be dramatic. Goodbye, Tom. I hung up before he could finish. In the window's reflection I saw my own face, pale, exhausted. So that was it. I wasn't family to them anymore. I was just a walking wallet. But realizing that didn't break me the way I thought it would. It simply settled into my bones, cold and heavy. They thought I was weak because I loved them, but they were about to learn that even love has limits. Taking back power, I don't remember when the tears started, only that I sat in the dim kitchen holding a mug of cold tea, staring blankly at the floor. Time slipped away like sand through my fingers. The pain came in waves, not just because of Jake and Tiffany, but because of all the years I'd bent, compromised, and drained myself for people who saw me as disposable. The phone buzzed again, a relative this time. Grace, don't destroy the family over a misunderstanding. I silenced it without answering. Somewhere between sobs and silence, an image surfaced. My own wedding day. I was 23, standing in a lace dress that had cost more than our first car. That morning my mother-in-law pulled me aside and said, Remember, quiet women make the best wives. Don't make waves. Back then I nodded, smiled, and swallowed every rising tide inside me. But now, sitting alone in my kitchen, I saw it clearer than ever. Silence doesn't mean weakness. I was no longer the woman who bowed her head just to keep everyone happy. That woman was gone. A strange calm washed over me, heavier than exhaustion, yet sharper than pain. I stood up, poured my untouched tea into the sink and wiped my cheeks dry. No more tears. No more begging for scraps of affection or respect. If Jake and Tiffany thought they could humiliate me and still walk down the aisle in their fairy tale wedding paid for by me, they were gravely mistaken. The next morning I went to see my attorney, Miss Evelyn Reed. Evelyn had been my lawyer for years, sharp, discreet, and unshakable. A real rock star. Sitting across from her bright desk in her NYC office, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Grace, Evelyn said gently, you look exhausted. Tell me what happened. I told her everything. The rehearsal dinner, Tiffany's public humiliation, Jake's cowardly silence, and how I had canceled every single wedding contract. Evelyn listened without interrupting, her expression unreadable. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. Let me be clear, she said firmly. You didn't do anything wrong. Every contract is in your name. Every payment came from your account. If they want a wedding, they'll have to pay for it themselves. I exhaled, a mix of relief and lingering anger. What if they try to sue me? I asked quietly. Evelyn smiled. Based on what? They have no legal ground. And if they're foolish enough to send a threatening letter, forward it to me. I'll handle it. A knock on the door startled me. Evelyn's assistant peeked in. Sorry to interrupt. There's a man on the phone. Says it's urgent. Jake Baker. I froze. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. Do you want to take it? No, I answered quickly. Not now. Good. Evelyn nodded. Let him sweat. You've carried him long enough. For the first time in weeks, I felt something unfamiliar in my chest. Not anger, not pain, power. Quiet, steady power. I nodded. Evelyn slid a folder toward me. I'll send official notices to all vendors confirming you as the sole legal authority on those contracts. If Jake or Tiffany shows up here, they'll speak to me, not you. When I signed, my hand no longer trembled. They could rage, they could scream, but I wasn't their wallet anymore. The public shaming when I got home, My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. At first, I ignored it, but soon notifications flooded in: Facebook, Instagram, even messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years. I opened Facebook. The first thing I saw was Tiffany's face, eyes red, hair in a perfect bun clutching a tissue. The caption on her video read, "I never thought my future mother-in-law would cancel our wedding out of jealousy and spite. My heart is shattered." Tiffany sobbed on camera. She canceled everything: the venue, the flowers, the food. She even threatened the vendors. After everything we did for her, she ruined the happiest day of our lives. Please pray for us. The comments poured in. What kind of mother does that? Cut her off. She's toxic. Poor Tiffany. Stay strong. A wave of burning fury spread through my chest. Every word was a lie. After everything they did for me, I was the one who paid for it all. Then I saw another post on Instagram. A photo of Tiffany and Jake hugging, captioned, "Don't let hate win. Family is who lifts you up, not who drags you down." Hundreds of likes, dozens of supportive comments. My hands trembled, not from sadness but rage. I opened my notes app and began a list. Every post, every comment, every lie. I took screenshots, saving each one neatly into a folder marked for Evelyn. If Tiffany wanted a war, she'd get one, but not the kind she expected. No more tears, no more pleading. I would fight. The first email came from the florist. "We regret to inform you that due to a canceled contract, we will not be providing services for the Baker-Stevens wedding. Wishing you all the best." Then the photographer posting a story about a last-minute opening this weekend. Then the band confirming cancellation of the Baker-Stevens event. "Thank you for letting us know." The dominoes were falling. By Friday morning, the wedding was in ruins. Then came the call. Tiffany. Her voice was shaky this time, though she tried to sound sweet. "Grace, can we talk?"
"I'm listening," he replied coolly.
We were all stressed that day. I shouldn't have said what I did. "Please don't cancel everything, okay? Jake and I can't afford to lose all those deposits. The guests are expecting a wedding. Please do it for Jake." "I'm not ruining anything," I said evenly. "I'm saving myself." Silence. Then her tone hardened, dripping with venom. "You're a bitter old woman, always jealous of me. Jake deserves better." "Fine," I said. "Then let him marry someone better." I hung up. The phone rang again. Jake. This time I let it go to voicemail. The honeymoon heist. While scrolling through my emails, one subject line caught my eye. Payment confirmation. Maldives honeymoon package. At first I thought it was spam until I saw the billing address. Mine. Thank you for booking a 14-night stay in an overwater villa in the Maldives with a private butler. Charges have been applied to your American Express, ending in 3921. My credit card. At the bottom a cheerful note read, "Guests Jake Baker and Tiffany Stevens will enjoy unlimited champagne and a private yacht excursion as part of their package. Congratulations." Booking date. 3 weeks ago, the same day Tiffany had lunch with me to discuss floral arrangements. My hand shook as I opened the next email. "Thank you for your purchase, Louis Vuitton bridal luggage set." Something inside me shattered. They hadn't just taken advantage of my kindness. They'd planned it from the start. This wedding wasn't a celebration of love. It was a robbery. Slow, deliberate, calculated, stealing my money, my trust, and my dignity. I opened my banking app. $12,400 at Tiffany's boutique. $8,950 for the private rehearsal dinner restaurant. $5,000 for the personal chef. I set the phone down and took a deep breath. For the first time in my life I didn't feel hurt anymore, only determined. $2,000 for exclusive spa treatments in the Maldives. And not a single charge of it made by me. I stared at the numbers on the screen, jaw tight, pulse pounding. They never intended to pay me back, not for the wedding, not for anything. And yet they still had the audacity to call me selfish. I slammed the laptop shut and leaned back in the chair. There would be no more phone calls, no more second chances, no more motherly forgiveness. They had shown me who they were. Now it was my turn to show them who I was. The voicemail came late while I was folding laundry. The screen lit up. Jake. 10:47 p.m. A foolish part of me still hoped he was calling to apologize. I pressed play. "Mom." His voice was cold, flat. "I don't even know why I'm wasting my time on this. You were never a real mother. Always too busy, too controlling, too cold. My chest tightened, but I didn't move. Tiffany was right about you. You've been jealous of her from day one. That's why you're doing this. You can't stand to see me happy. A sharp inhale, then the final cut like ice. No wonder Dad left you. Now I get it. You're just a lonely, bitter woman who always plays the victim. And now you've ruined the only good thing in my life. Click. I stared at the phone. The room was dead silent. Not a single tear fell. Not this time. I just felt hollow, as if the last fragile thread inside me had finally snapped. Slowly I pressed delete. The message disappeared, and with it the final piece tying me to the boy I once loved more than life itself. Being alone was better than being used. I set the phone down and turned off the light. It was over. Legal leverage the next morning. I sat in Evelyn Reed's office, hands wrapped around a cup of tea I didn't drink. She had read every screenshot of Tiffany's posts and listened to Jake's cruel voicemail. Her face was calm, but her eyes glinted with a sharpness I'd never seen before. This isn't arrogance anymore, she said, enunciating each word. This is harassment, and we're going to end it. She slid a draft across the desk. A cease and desist letter, citing harassment, defamation, and unauthorized use of funds. I read each line, my heart pounding not from fear, but from a growing steadiness in my chest. We'll send this directly to Tiffany. One copy by certified mail, one by email, and one to her parents, Evelyn said. They need to understand that if they continue, there will be legal consequences. I nodded, tightening my grip on the teacup. And about Jake. Evelyn opened a file labeled joint accounts. Did you know he's still withdrawing money from the account you opened for him in college? I froze. I thought he stopped years ago. He didn't. She slid the printed transactions toward me. He withdrew $7,500, right after you paid the deposit for the venue. I felt the blood drain from my face. Evelyn remained composed. We'll freeze the account today before he drains the rest. I stared at the folder, my fingers hesitating. That account had once been my way of saying, I'll always be here for you. But that promise no longer meant anything. Do it, I said firmly. Evelyn nodded, picked up the phone, and instructed her legal team. Her voice was steady, professional, exactly the kind of calm I needed. As I listened to her dictate the letter, I realized I was no longer trembling, no longer angry. For the first time in weeks I felt solid. Jake and Tiffany had taken enough. My money, my dignity, my role as a mother. They wouldn't take anything else. Evelyn hung up and looked at me with a faint smile. You did the right thing, Grace. If they want a wedding, they can pay for it themselves. I exhaled slowly. Let them try. The best decision by the weekend, the cracks in their fairy tale had begun to show. Tiffany posted a picture on Instagram, her hand in Jake's with the caption, trying to stay strong through this difficult time. Please respect our privacy. The comments poured in. What happened? I thought the wedding was this weekend. Sending love, Tiff. 2 hours later, Lana texted. Grace, did you really cancel the wedding? The whole town is talking about it. I didn't reply. I had no obligation to explain myself. The phone rang again. An unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Mrs. Baker, this is Mr. Stevens, Tiffany's father. His voice was tight, strained with barely contained anger. I don't know what Tiffany said to you at the rehearsal, but surely you're not going to destroy an entire wedding over a misunderstanding. I stayed silent, waiting for the real reason behind his call. Then he exhaled sharply. Listen, if this is about money, I'll be honest. Our family's going through a rough patch, but I'm sure we can work something out if you just reinstate the payments. So that was it. The same arrogant man who'd ignored me for months was now begging. I simply replied, handle it yourself. His tone hardened. Do you realize what this will do to Tiffany? To the reputation of both families? I hung up. The next day, I received an email from the venue manager. Per your request, the Baker-Stevens wedding has been canceled. Please note that the date has now been booked by another couple. Their dream wedding now belonged to someone else. I pictured Tiffany screaming, Jake panicking, her parents sitting helplessly on the couch. But I didn't feel satisfaction, only peace. By Sunday evening my inbox lit up again. Let's put this behind us, okay? I opened it. "Mom, we've decided to forgive you for what happened. We know emotions ran high and people said things they didn't mean. Tiffany and I talked and are willing to let you attend the wedding as long as you behave appropriately and don't make things awkward. This is our day and we'd appreciate it if you didn't make it about you. Let's move forward as a family, Jake." I stared at the screen, then burst out laughing. It started as a small chuckle, then grew into a full uncontrollable laugh until I had to hold my stomach. They forgave me? After I paid for every part of their dream? After Tiffany kicked me out of the rehearsal dinner like a hired maid? After Jake stood there in silence while I was humiliated? Now they forgave me. I wiped a tear, not from sadness but from laughing too hard. I opened the reply box, fingers hovering over the keyboard, then stopped. No, they didn't deserve a response. I closed the laptop and pushed it aside. They could keep their illusion of control. I was done playing the fool in their little performance. The wedding day came, a bright, crisp Saturday morning, exactly as Tiffany had dreamed. I woke up in my hotel room overlooking the ocean, the scent of eucalyptus drifting through the air. I treated myself to a weekend getaway at a seaside resort in Laguna Beach, California. By noon I was stretched out on a lounge chair, hair wrapped in a towel, a glass of chilled champagne in hand. A message popped up from an old acquaintance. "Today's the day. Can't wait to see you both at 2 p.m. I smiled and took a sip. By then, their venue would be filled with flowers and laughter, but for another couple, no joy, just peace. I lifted my phone and snapped a photo of the blue sky and the champagne glass glinting in the sunlight. Caption: "The best decision I ever made." No names, no explanations, but I knew they'd see it and they'd understand. The truth goes viral. By Monday morning, social media was on fire. A comment appeared under Tiffany's tearful post. But wasn't Mrs. Baker the one who paid for everything? At first, her friends rushed to defend her. "Don't spread lies. That woman's toxic." But then someone else chimed in. "My cousin works at the venue. Mrs. Baker signed and paid for everything. Tiffany and Jake didn't spend a cent." And just like that, the dam broke. Screenshots of the Maldives honeymoon invoice charged to my card leaked into a wedding gossip group. The comments flooded in. So they used her to pay for the wedding and a luxury vacation and then humiliated her? Unbelievable. Biting the hand that feeds you. That's next level ungrateful. One of Jake's old college friends added, "Not surprised. He's always let women walk all over him. SMH. I didn't comment, didn't like, didn't share. I just saved every screenshot, evidence for the future. That afternoon Lana called.
"Grace, I'm sorry.
We believed Tiffany. We thought you were sabotaging the wedding, but now everyone sees the truth. You're not alone anymore." I stayed silent. I didn't need pity. What I needed and finally had was clarity. For years I'd let people take and take, believing it was the price of keeping peace. But peace bought with self-erasure isn't peace, it's silence. And I was done being silent. 2 weeks later, the rumors spread like wildfire. Tiffany's Instagram went quiet. Jake's profile picture disappeared. It started small, a mutual friend posting, "Next time, don't bite the hand that feeds you." Then Tiffany's cousin added a cryptic post. "If you can't afford your own wedding, maybe don't yell at the person paying for it." For real. People weren't whispering anymore. They were laughing out loud. Screenshots of Tiffany's posts were circulating through wedding forums. The comments were brutal. She ruined her own wedding just for being a brat. Did she think her ML was an ATM? Who throws out the person funding the entire wedding? Even some of the vendors joined in. A florist anonymously posted, "We warned the bride her mother-in-law was the contract holder. She didn't care. She thought she was above consequences." I said nothing. I didn't need to. The truth has a way of surfacing on its own. By the end of the month, Tiffany and Jake's guest list had all but vanished. Friends stopped answering their calls. Their dream wedding had become the town's favorite cautionary tale. Not a love story but a lesson in pride and entitlement. As for me, I was sitting on the balcony of a resort 2 states away, watching the sunset spill over the ocean, champagne glass in hand. I snapped a photo, my feet up on the railing, the sky blazing red above endless waves. Caption: "Happiness suits me better." I didn't check the likes, nor did I care who had seen it. Whether it was Jake, Tiffany, or those who once called me the dramatic mother. That photo wasn't for them. It was for me. The next morning my phone buzzed. Jake's name appeared. I stared at the screen for a long time, then pressed decline. A message followed right after. Mom, can we talk? We were wrong. I powered off the phone and set it face down on the table. For years I had let other people pull me into their storms. Now I chose peace. And peace meant never walking back into their chaos again. They thought they could humiliate me and still live off my generosity. They were wrong. I was no longer their wallet. I was their wake-up call. Sometimes the bravest thing a mother can do isn't to sacrifice more, but to know when to stop. Grace didn't choose revenge. She chose self-respect. And in that moment, she realized that true love cannot survive if only one side keeps carrying the weight. Grace's story isn't just about money or betrayal. It's a reminder that silence kept for too long comes with a price. Once the giver realizes her own worth, she'll never let anyone exploit her kindness again. And what about you? If you were in Grace's place, would you keep enduring for the sake of family, or would you stand up to protect yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments, because maybe your story will help someone out there find the courage to finally say enough. And if you love real life stories that carry lessons like this, follow the channel so we can continue this journey together, where every experience becomes a chance to understand, to forgive, and to grow stronger.